Hey everybody, so when I said we were going to go hunt the giant monster boss, the party took that like, oh, we're going to play Monster Hunter, and then I explained to them that it's like similar to Monster Hunter, and we were going to be doing things like Monster Hunter, and then they got mad at me because I didn't have a bunch of items and shit stocked for them to use against the monster, so they just went and played Monster Hunter anyway. So session's canceled.
Yo, DM, I cut off the dragon's tail. What can I do with it?
I don't know. Put it at the end of a doorknob and put it somewhere.
I'm gonna have some fun with this tonight.
Do the Kiryu Coco.
Okay.
Christ.
I'm gonna be honest, not your strongest opening, sir.
Look, man, I tried real hard. I'm going through some distress at the moment. Leave me alone.
Isaiah's taking 1d4 poison damage.
I have, yes. I have taken the poison condition.
Is it poison damage or acid damage?
Both. Maybe a little fire damage at the end of it all. Anyway, welcome back to another riveting episode of the Sessions Canceled podcast.
Oh, we're riveting now. I don't know about that.
Riveting.
I don't know about that. I don't think we
riveting.
should. I don't think we should lie to people like that.
Fine, ribbed for her pleasure. I don't know what you mean.
Whoa! Hey yo! Hey baby, demonetize. JK, you have to be monetized to get demonetized.
Yeah, and look, I didn't say anything untoward that the algorithm could pick apart. I didn't say the bad words. Although we're 90 seconds in, I can say them now.
No, it's not 90 seconds, sir. It's 7 minutes.
Damn it, never mind. Anyway.
Oh, they changed it?
Yes.
Oh.
Welcome back. It's me, your boy. I'm here with Josh and Matt.
Hi.
All right. Just cut me off. I was gonna say a thing. I was gonna make a goof.
Oh, make the goof.
Nope. Matt, it's been a week. It's only been 1 week. It's a week every time. 1 week every time. It's not been that long.
No, I mean, you
said it took you to respond. It took so long.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe that might be true.
Oh my goodness.
Never mind. Fine.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
All right, well, y'all, I had me, so I was playing Rogue Trader, and I had me a think, right? I was thinking me that there's a lot of situations where I feel like you could use some like mechanics or like scenarios in video games that are not necessarily like RPG like or TTRPG like things like XCOM, or not really XCOM, because there's some interesting stuff you can take from XCOM and Fire Emblem, like mechanically that would be interesting, but like games like Devil May Cry, and you can put that into an TTRPG and make that like an interesting scenario. So that's what today's about.
I mean, it is worth pointing out Rogue Trader is based on a tabletop game. So
no, I know.
The correlation is
Rogue Trader.
More direct on that one.
Yes, well, I actually had some examples from Rogue Trader that I took out because of that exact thing.
Fair enough.
But before we get into it, Josh, do you want to tell our loving audience something?
Yeah, squeeze my neck. What?
This motherfucker giving me shit.
Follow or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And then squeeze my nads.
And then tell your friend to subscribe.
I mean, you can lightly suggest. We don't need to be bossy.
No, be bossy. Make firm statements.
All right, well.
If they don't subscribe, I will come to their house and fight them to the death.
To the death?
Mortal combat. Yes.
Damn.
All right, that seems extreme, but all right. I guess.
Look, if they win, they get to be part of a podcast. That's cool.
Is that how that works? If they win, they supplant you?
Yes.
I see. Interesting.
Good luck.
Interesting technique. I mean, yeah, good luck.
So yeah, boys, that's going to be the topic for today. It's what cool mechanics can we pull from games? They don't necessarily have to be video games, but I can't suggest someone figure out some cool mechanics from Monopoly and put that in your TTRPG.
Well, Monopoly's
going to stick with video games.
Monopoly's a terrible game anyway, so it's fine.
Rude.
It's a fucking bad game. I don't know what to tell you.
I love Monopoly so much.
Fucking despise Monopoly. terribly designed board game.
You don't like being a tycoon and owning all of the property.
It's a horribly designed board game. There's no.
I will say the video game version does make it go by a lot faster.
It's not about the speed.
Board game.
The speed is not my problem. My problem is that it is a poorly designed game. But we don't. It's look. If you want, we could do an entire episode about why I think Monopoly's fucking hot trash. But we don't need to do that.
Yeah, talk to the people who are spending thousands on Monopoly. Go, Josh.
I actually do want to have that episode now. Holy shit!
Where we just complain about Monopoly.
Well, you complain about Monopoly, and we just listen, fascinated.
Weird choice, but sure.
I'd say just Josh in a full like the teacher blazer with the fucking elbow pads.
Oh hell yeah, dude!
Hair tied up in a bun with the thick glasses.
Oh hell yeah!
And this is why Monopoly is shit. It just sits across the desk and stares at the class.
I'd have fun with that class.
Mm.
In other news,
I probably would too.
I don't know what these video games are you talk about. I'm an adult. I don't play these silly games.
I
play real games like taxes.
Yeah,
exactly. Let me just check.
I do my taxes
on Final Fantasy 14.
I do show. I do my taxes and read the Encyclopedia Britannica like an adult, cover to cover.
I smoke on my corncob pipe and read the paper like an adult.
Yeah, exactly. With my New York
corncob or porn cob. I think you just had a Freudian slip.
I don't know what he said, to be honest.
Oh my god.
I read the paper with my New York Times subscription that I obviously have.
Oh, not corncob pipe. I meant to say wooden pipe, but whatever.
No, I thought you said porn cob, not corn cob.
Is a corn cob pipe a thing?
Yeah.
What the fuck's a corn cob pipe?
Yeah, so it's actually yeah. So you take a corn cob, right? And you shear all the corn.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Someone in my family had one of those. Someone on my Puerto Rican side, I believe.
All right, not to be the white guy pointing fingers, but like that's such a Puerto Rican maneuver. That's
also a redneck maneuver.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Bet you money you're gonna see some fucking yee ass motherfucker over in Tennessee. Props if you're in Tennessee, by the way, and you're listening to us. Proud of you, bud. Rocking one of those. Anyway.
Fair enough.
These video games that I speak of,
these arcane arts.
Yes. Yeah, the things that are turning the frogs gay, those things.
Turning the frogs gay! And the kids. Video games made my son gay.
And cancel. Thanks for coming, everybody.
I don't have a son, so I don't actually have a child, so it's fine.
That you know of.
I'm very confident in that one.
Okay. I just wanted him to be like, wait.
No. Nah. Please take us somewhere other than this.
It's fine.
I'm in a mood.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, well. Yeah, so I was having me a think, boys, the other day, and being like, what are some game, like, scenarios, levels, objectives that I've either, like, had a good time with that I realized could be either sort of transplanted into a TTRPG with some, revisions to the rules, because you can't play a level in DMC in D&D. D&D is not a spectacle fighter. I don't even know how you could do that and have it feel good in the game.
I know this wasn't
satisfying.
I know this wasn't a prompt, but as soon as you said that, my brain started churning the fucking gears about like, how would you do that? And I'm not going to get into it, but my brain immediately started shooting ideas out.
No, because I thought about it too. Don't you worry, because basically what you'd need to do is you'd have to have some sort of comboing system that would allow you to make multiple attacks.
Yeah.
And the way it works, right, is the only way you could keep a combo going is if one attack was within a certain threshold number from another attack. So if you need a 15 to hit in D&D, for example, and you need to, let's say you need to roll a 15 to 18, or 15 or higher. And then the next time you have to roll 16 or higher, 17 or higher, 18 or higher. And you just have to keep the combo going with matching or higher numbers. And the higher you go, either the more damage you do, or it's something you get post-combat, like you get more loot or something.
That's not exactly where my brain went, but I was thinking in a similar direction, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know that, like, don't worry, because I thought about that while writing stuff down. I'm like, how would you do that?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this a while ago on podcast, but you guys know the game Dragon's Lair, the Don Bluth animated arcade game?
Yes.
There's one trap in it where it's a rainbow colored like ramps with balls that like swing back and forth and shit.
Balls.
And I want to use this in a dungeon so badly, but I haven't been able to think of like a good way to do it.
Those listening, if you can, not if you're driving, but if you have the opportunity, look up Dragon's Lair Rainbow Ball Trap, because I don't know how to really describe this, but it's basically fucking weird.
It's like imagine a long hallway that's a skateboard ramp with
it's a half pipe.
It's a half pipe.
Yeah, half pipe.
Yeah.
That's kind of broken up into multiple squares, and each row has a giant, like, colorful ball.
That's
boulder rolling up and down the ramp.
There's some real trippiness here that I feel like is not conveyed unless you look this up, because this looks like an acid trip.
Don Bluth, great anime. Awesome.
Yeah. How would you do this and have it feel? This would be some Frogger bullshit.
Right?
Yeah,
like, that's
it
my
would
problem,
be
where it's like doing it without it like slowing the game or being like grinding halt, because like if you do it like hypothetically as a combat, that would suck. Because it's like, all right, on your turn, do you dodge? Do you fucking
no. I think you'd have to do it like you'd have to do some kind of timing thing and then say, all right, like make a check. Like you have to, I think the only way for it to work is you have to test the players actively. It's one of those kind of a puzzles, right? Where like you have to be like, all right, player, you watch the balls go, from A to B, and then like what you think the timing is, and then you have to make a statement like, all right, I'm gonna jump in 3 seconds, and then the GM goes, all right, that's the right or wrong timing, and then they jump and you make a check or something. Like, yeah, it would be very weird, but like you could do it for shits and giggles.
Because it's weird. Because is this a trap, or is this a puzzle, or is this both?
It's both. So I would say both.
What I was thinking that it would do, right, is you have a D4 for each of the balls, and if someone, it would only take one check to try to get yourself through it, and you might get yourself through it, but if you fail the roll, you'll get bounced either forward or backwards based on even or odd rolls for each ball. So you have 6, and you can like get stuck in the same position and then try to roll again to get out of the balls and just get ping-ponged back and forth. Yeah. Now, and don't make it do a lot of damage. Make it do like a D4, and keep it at like a level, like don't do this past level fucking 10, because the players are gonna have way too much HP at that point. But like a level 8, and just watch them get ping-ponged back and forth, and then them just be like, we did it. I think you should. No.
This is some Caraptus Funhouse dungeon nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of love it. To get to our first point, which we've spoken about a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean like a lot. We brought it up in at least 10 episodes. It's the disable the giant monster.
God,
you see
Jesus
this.
Christ.
I know. You see this. We talked about this with Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a little bit with Monster Hunter. And the one that I think would be the most interesting or fun, personally, is the Nier Automata fight against Angels, the giant like digger boss.
The in the very beginning, the tutorial, what is that fucker called? With the big
Angels.
Engel, right? Yes, him. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's my thing. Here's what I'm thinking right off the bat. All right. And this is maybe a little disappointing, but I don't think there's any way. Maybe I should rephrase this. I was about to say I don't think there's I was going to say I don't think there's any way to make the climb the big monster feel as cool as it does in video games. I'm going to rephrase that slightly. There's no way to make it the same experience, because video games are inherently more tactile because controller and controls and an avatar for which you command. But just because this has to be different doesn't mean necessarily it has to be lamer. But yeah, so I don't think I think the goal should not be, let's try that sentence again. The objective shouldn't be to try and make it feel like the video game. I don't think that should be what you try to do, because I don't think you can. Jesus Christ, dude. The objective, I think, should be to invoke the sensation that Fight Big Monster gives. Am I making sense here?
No, yeah, I get you.
So it's less about a one-to-one copy situation. So, well, okay. Isaiah, do you have some example thoughts here?
I do, yes. So obviously,
because I was just thinking we maybe want to go through each game example that you listed.
Yes. So we'll start with the Shadow of the Colossus one because that's the one we talked about the most. So obviously, James Hayek, they put out a pretty sick article back in 2018 called "Hit the Monster for Massive Damage," and the way that it works is that you give the players a Colossus-sized monster, something fucking huge that you can't reasonably do damage to, right? Either its skin is too thick or it's just too big to care about your Vorpal Sword. In those situations, the players have to either make perception checks or investigation checks to scan the body of the creature, and I believe the article recommends making them fly around it or traverse around the area to
traverse
check its body
it to
for
reasonably
weak points.
You can't just look from the ground up at the big monster and expect to see the weak point.
Yes. And this works because in the game Shadow of the Colossus, if you don't know, the whole point of the game is that you are a tiny little human on a really wonkily controlled horse named Aggro, my beloved. And you have to travel.
Aggro. Sheva. Hey, Sheva.
No, don't do Sheva. Sheva. If you played Resident Evil 5 and your Sheva didn't blow herself up with the stupid explosive crossbow or bow or whatever it is, you lived a paradise.
That's why you play that game in multiplayer.
True. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So you travel around on the horse and you use your sword, which is not a MacGuffin, but it's like a plot device item that allows you to...
It's a magic sword with plot-relevant abilities.
Yeah, it allows you to produce a beam of light when raised to the sky, and it will show you the Colossuses. And the way that you fight a lot of...
The beam of light points in their direction, and then when you're near the Colossus, it points towards their weak spot.
Yes. But it's sort of treated like a Sting from Lord of the Rings. It glows brighter when you're closer and less so when you're farther and all that good stuff. But the way the game works is that you, again, have to shine the light on to the sword, and that will typically, if it's a big open-bodied creature, tell you where its weak point is, either on the back of its knees, on its stomach, the top of its head, the bottom of its feet with the turtle whose name escapes me. Before you can even do that, you have to do things around the area. Like with the turtle, you need to have it step on a geyser. The geyser's heat will make the turtle lift its foot, then you can shoot it with a bow.
The turtle's weak point isn't actually the feet. The feet are to make the turtle fall over.
Yeah, to fall over, and then...
His weak point, I think, is actually on the very top of his shell, but you can't reach it unless he falls over.
One of them is, yeah.
Where you wound him is on the top.
Yeah, one of them is on his stomach. And then, the other one's on top of his shell. So the way that you would do this in 5e, obviously, is you'd have a creature that is enormous. Again, too big to actually reasonably hit with any weapons or spells or whatever. I guess you could drop a meteorite on it, but I'd laugh really hard if a player burnt a 9th level spell slot and it went, "What if I told you it did nothing?" And then just watch them mauled. Yes, and then you would, obviously you'd have to make your perception or investigation checks to try to find the thing. And then when it says when you do hit it, you either kill it outright, because that's the point of the fight, like the ancient wyvern in Dark Souls 2, or you can actually just do damage to the fucking thing. So I like this idea, right? I like this a lot. I haven't had a chance to use it, but I really want to, and I'm thinking about it. Don't you worry, players. But I have sort of put forth a different idea of a similar vein, right? Because the James Hayek rule sort of shows you how to find the thing and how to hit the thing. But I think the most interesting part of Shadow of the Colossus is ascending the Colossi, right?
That's what I was about to say. That's the part we're missing.
Yeah. So what I suggest is you take a note out of the Scab from Descent into Avernus, and you create a vertical dungeon, one that only, technically speaking, moves on one plane. You can go up or you can go down. And what you can do on that is you obviously you can have the players move at half movement. I wouldn't recommend it because the thing is fucking huge anyway, and there's no point because you're just gonna half their movement and then have the thing 150 feet tall.
Well, I would say half.
It's just.
I disagree. Actually, I think you should half their movement because then if a player does have a climb speed, they feel real cool.
Fair enough. I'm sort of under the assumption that no one has a climb speed because
quite a few.
Like there's
quite a few options. There's a couple of races that give climb speed, as well as stuff like Ranger gives a climb speed. There's lots of ways to get a climb speed. I think it's fine. There's also flying races, like Aarakocra.
True. So yeah, fine. We'll go into assumption that you have their movement speed. And the only thing that you do, like, you don't make them make checks every turn to hold on. That's just gonna get annoying. And it's one of those things where you're just destined to fail eventually. Statistically, you will roll a 1, assuming that you're not high enough leveled where a rogue can just ignore those things.
Disagree here.
You want them to make checks every turn?
Yes, I think so. The thing about Shadow of the Colossus that makes the Colossi, well, it kind of depends on which Colossi you're fighting, but for a lot of them, part of the thing that makes it is that the climb up the Colossus is quite perilous, and you're going to fall down a lot because your stamina meter is, not great. And I think the best way you could potentially represent said stamina meter would be through various checks. I think what you should have to do is basically a check that starts relatively easy and then ascends in difficulty every turn or every 2, however often you want to do it. Doesn't necessarily have to be every turn, but yeah, as you climb up the beast, it needs to ascend in difficulty because your literal grip, your stamina is running out until you get to the top or a flat spot or whatever. Like a couple of the Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus have platforms built into like their bodies essentially. So if you could put a platform, so if a player could climb up, roll onto the platform, take a turn to take a breather, and then reset their DC back down, for example, if you want to do something like that. So like maybe the DC's 10, they climb up for 3 rounds, the DC's 16, they get to a platform, they take a breather, DC resets back down to 10. But I think you have to do, if you want to do the invoke Shadow of the Colossus specifically, I think you have to do the multiple checks because the climbing and the stamina and the stress from the actual climbing is a vital part of that whole scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Again, until you get to kind of a flat spot or the top.
So what I will say is I'm not against them having to make checks. So what I was thinking, right, is because this, at the end of the day, the creature is still a boss, a monster, right? Something that is to be fought. And the way that you sort of actualize the checks you have to make is through its layer and legendary actions. So you can give it like, one of the layer actions is maybe one of the creature has like lice or fleas or some sort of insect that like is attached to its body that will try to attack you while you're climbing. And if it hits you, then you have to make a check to hold on. You could have a legendary action called Shake Off, where it'll try to shake off a part of its body. So like, arms, legs, or torso, and you can roll a D3 to decide that. And anyone who's currently on that part of the body, or all of them if they're all on one part of the body, that's where you'd have to make a check. And that way it sort of allows players to do some interesting stuff with staggering their distance, maybe trying to take on several limbs at once. to distract the creature while someone can climb the head and actually kill the thing, you know?
I mean, you could.
That's where my head was.
Is that's not too drastically different from making a check every turn to climb, you know? Like, you're still more or less making a check every turn with that. Right?
Some players, well, yeah, so it's not every player will have to make a check every turn. That's kind of what I'm worried about, is every player having to make a check every turn.
Well, here's the thing. So I don't think it would be I don't think it would be that situation. See, this is where it gets a little tricky, right? Because Shadow of the Colossus is a one-player game.
Yes.
I don't think it would necessarily be that scenario, because I think probably what would end up happening is different players would come at it from different ways. You know, the human fighter is just going to be like, all right, fuck it, boys, I'm making athletics checks. But then the Aarakocra Ranger is like, I'm going to try and fly around him. And then he's going to get swatted out of the sky. And then the human wizard is like, I'm not going to climb. I'll like support you guys from down here because I'm probably going to get fucked up if I fall. I don't think everyone's going to end up doing the same thing for the most part. So I think you'll probably be all right in that regard. And also, I think it's fine if you want to say you don't have to make a check if you don't try to climb any higher. Like if you just want to hold your position, then no check required. You only make the check if you're trying to get higher.
I was going to ask, did you look up the normal, like,
yeah, they're whatever.
Dungeon Master Guide rules?
Yeah, I've looked at them before. They're whatever.
It's just a grapple.
It's a grapple.
Yeah.
They're whatever. They're meh. Yeah,
I looked at them forever ago. Because you brought up a good point, the wizard, because I was thinking about this too. Look, typically I'm not one for taking away options from players during situations like this. I think you're going to pretty reasonably have to just say you cannot teleport on top of this thing if you play anything higher than 7th level. Because once they get Dimension Door, they're like, oh, there's Dimension Door. Either give it more than one weak spot, or just don't let them do it.
Well, Isaiah, you're forgetting about something that Shadow of the Colossus does. The weak spot moves. No, the weak spot moves. Yeah. So whatever.
It's got multiple, yes.
Yeah, so they Dimension Door one, and then it moves. Then they have to go find the other one.
I mean, also, if they Dimension Door grab the fighter, they go. The wizard, that's his turn. That's it. Next turn, if the fighter doesn't get the chance to stab the thing before the creature's turn, then you could just be like, the creature will use a legendary action to move the weakness. And you're like, son of a bitch.
Or that,
yeah. Oh, so that, I hadn't even thought about that.
He moved it from his forehead to his ass cheek. Damn. Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. Using a legendary action to move weak points, that's clever. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, because that happens, because it's Shadow of the Colossus, right? It doesn't happen on the first, 3, I want to say, but after that, after a certain point, you stab the weak spot, and then it goes away, and you have to find it again. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, so, when you use basically the weak spots have individual health pools, so once you drain that weak spot's health pool, it deactivates, and then another weak spot will show up.
Not that you know, you don't know that health pool, by the way. It's an invisible health pool. Yeah,
it's invisible, but it will never go back to the old one. Yeah. Once that one's done, it's done.
Or there's certain creatures, like if I remember the eel, the awful lake eel that nobody wants to ever fight because it's terrifying. The weak spot doesn't move on that one, but you hit it and it dives back underwater, and you have to re-crawl onto it every time because it keeps diving and ditching you. Yeah,
so it's for reference, Matt. The one we're talking, it's like an eel with it's like an electric eel. It's like 100 feet long, and it's in an underground lake.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I've seen some of the fights.
I do not have thalassophobia, but that thing gives me thalassophobia. It is fucking terrifying, that thing. It is crazy how scary it is. It's a fucking PS2 game, and that thing is horror incarnate.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Hate it.
Okay, not quite really. What's your favorite Colossus, Josh?
Oh, God. Fuck. You caught me out on... I have to look them up. Okay, hold on. Trying to remember. Okay.
I'm looking at a list. I like the giant one, the one where it's just a dude with a big sword.
Yeah.
Oh, that's number 3. That's 3. Yeah,
that's
Gaius.
Gaius is cool. Oh, okay. The bird is cool.
Avion, that's my favorite. I love Avion so much.
Big Sky Desert Dragon's pretty sick.
Oh, Phalanx? Yeah.
Is that my boy? Yeah, Phalanx.
Poseidon
Actually,
sucks.
I didn't realize there were so many cows.
I wouldn't call them cows.
Cow?
But they're
The
cow-ish.
four-legged ones.
Four-legged ones, yes.
Yeah,
There's-
so
yeah.
there's Kieran.
I do like
There's
the one that kind of looks like a buffalo or like a bison. I think might be my.
the underwater one.
No. The four-legged dude. He's got the like bison horns. Got the fucking. What the hell is his name? Quadradra. What is this fucker's name? He's got the like. Trying to.
Quadratus.
Yes, him.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
the big
yeah. Okay,
minotaur
Quadratus
looking
is pretty
horns.
cool.
He might.
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
It actually might be him. I do also like the tiger one.
The tiger's cool. Cerberus, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or Cenobia, I believe is what it's called.
Oh yeah, here he is.
Or no, Leo. Leo is what you're thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving the weak point. Definitely a thing. The other thing is, I don't know that you have to even restrict the wizard that much because, again, the dimension door to the head stabbed the weak point. Okay, you did a bunch of damage, right? Because it does do a lot of damage in Child of the Colossus when you do manage to hit the weak point. And then it moves, and now you have to make the checks and or look around and do the necessary work to find it again, So, like, there's still effort there, and yeah, and also if the wizard dimension doors onto a specific area and then grabs onto the fur or whatever, which is usually what you're grabbing in the case of Shadow of the Colossus is the fur. Then the Colossus uses a legendary action and smush wizard. Just like imagine, if you will, the wizard teleports onto like the Colossus's rib cage and like grabs on. He's like, "All right, guys, the weak point's right here." And then he's like, "All right, next turn I'm gonna stab him." Then he ends his turn and the like swatting a mosquito off of you. The Colossus just slaps his rib cage real quick, and the wizard just falls.
Explodes.
Explodes and falls to the ground.
I mean, that is part of the normal climbing rules too, or climbing onto a bigger creature's rules.
What?
The larger creature can dislodge a smaller creature as an action, knocking them off, scraping them, grabbing them, however thrashing against the wall by making an athletics check. Or
see, I would say it's a straight up like attack, and you have to make a check to try and hang up. Like, I don't even know. You might not even get a check. If it hits you, you might just fall off. Because if you get squished by a big boy like that, I don't know.
I watched a stream where someone was like, one of the players, the barbarian, climbed up onto the dragon, and so the DM's like, okay, the dragon's gonna try and fly and corkscrew in midair. Barbarian, I need you to make an athletics check to hold on. And he's like, oh god, thank God, I'm raging.
Yeah, your barbarian players would have a lot of fun with this.
Yes, because it lets them. It lets them be dumb smart. They get to be dumb barbarian, but also big smart. So yeah. I would probably say leave it up to an attack as well, because that way, a lucky low roll, and like this is purely for like the cinematics of it. Like someone's like, "Oh god, the wizard!" and then the thing tries to smush it, and you just see the flickering shield spell as the wizard's like, "Oh my god, I almost died."
Yeah, well that's the thing, right?
Then,
I think if you're gonna fight a big monster and the wizard is going to make the choice that I'm gonna try and get on this thing and do the physical athletics of climbing it, I think your wizard has to be in more danger than everyone else. Like, you should attack them, make them make athletics check. Like, if they're gonna try it, they're gonna have a hard time because they're the fucking wizard, Like, I think you gotta I think this is honestly, in this particular scenario, I think this is a case where your marshals are just gonna be cooler and better. And you should let them just be cooler
honestly,
and better.
Good. Yeah, just good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, just let him in this scenario. Yeah, exactly.
How would you take adventurer's gear into this?
Well, I mean,
I was trying to think about
like pythons and shit too.
Yeah,
pythons,
I don't know.
Climbing gear, rope.
It depends. Honestly, you could try and like go through the gear and make all these little subsystem rules. I would just say if the player can give me some sort of good fictional justification for how they're using X, Y, or Z piece of adventuring gear, maybe I give them advantage. Maybe I lower the DC. Maybe I say they get one free turn of climb. Like maybe if they use the Pythons, they can climb one round without making a check. Just do it on the fly. I think is how I would handle it in this case.
Well, I think you'd only really need because the climbing gear has like the rope, the pythons, and all that. You'd basically just be like, for pythons, you rather than falling off if you fail the check, you fall like a certain number of feet, right? Because the pythons they're the anchors that keep you locked in. So
but then the question also becomes, do you have enough? Because like pythons only work if you tie yourself to them, which you got the time to tie yourself to the. I mean, I guess if you say I'm gonna take my turn to set up my pythons, and then I'll try and climb the next turn, you could say something like along those lines.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what it's called, and maybe this isn't. I feel like this is a thing I've heard somewhere where you only you have like, 3 or 4 set pythons, are like already attached to a harness, and then you like lock them in and unlock them as you go up. So you could like, you just climb with a hammer in your mouth.
I think that's a more modern version of the thing, but maybe.
Yeah, so I would say like,
there's a lot of.
If you
There's
had
a lot of rulings you could come up with.
Yeah, if you had a climbing kit, and I guess this only really matters if a player has one, or at the very least rope, right? You can say that like, if you move a quarter movement, you don't have to make a check or something, because you're using the rope to like anchor yourself, and you're like slowly, meticulously. You could do stuff like that, but at some point the players would get bored. They wouldn't want to like only use the rope. It would be their like, oh, I don't want to get destroyed this round, so I feel like it wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Well, also, I think a lot of the climbing gear stuff kind of assumes you have the time to set up the climbing gear, which you sort of don't in a situation like this, right?
True. Well, you have like a grappling hook at the very least.
How much is a grappling hook helping you on a big monster? Like, it could move, it could shake it off, it could pull it out. It might be its skin might be too tough. Like there's a lot of like climbing gear, like setting up belays, pythons, and fucking pulleys, and the spiky shoes and everything. That's like a lot of work and requires time to like get it all ready to go. That you wouldn't have fighting a Colossus probably. So I think that's part of it too.
I mean, if you didn't fight it, like if you ran into it, you probably wouldn't have the time. But assuming that you like Shadow of the Colossus, you knew it was coming.
No. Think about it. Even if you're going to go fight it, like you don't have time to stab the pythons into the thing. It's gonna smack the shit out of you if you try to do that. Like you're climbing, you're like, all right, now I hammer my pythons in, and then it fucking swats you off, right? Like you don't have a lot of time if it's trying to murder you. Unless it's weirdly docile, That's what I mean. Like, I think that's why I'm saying I think you don't make any, don't necessarily think of hard rulings for that kind of stuff ahead of time. Be aware that they're a thing, and if the players come up with an idea that's good on the fly, then give them some sort of benefit for it. And then if they don't, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, they could come up with all sorts of wild shit.
Yeah,
there's options.
As far as other games that deal with giant monsters, the other two I have here, like I said, Monster Hunter World, when you're fighting the Zora Magdaros. Despite how much that boss fight in of itself sucks, I think it could be pretty interesting in a tabletop sense. Quick explanation. Zora Magdaros is basically Godzilla, and you have to climb on top of Godzilla's back and like up and down his scales and skin while someone charges some sort of mechanism to like do actual damage. In this case, the
Get onto that Dragonator,
which is yeah. I think you can do some pretty interesting stuff with clocks. Yeah, it's basically a big cannon that shoots like a harpoon. And what you could do is you have players on the creature who are either like fighting off adds, trying to break through its scales to find weak points for the big weapon, and then you have one player who admittedly might be like it's like a different mini game where like the player would have to make checks to charge the thing. Maybe they could use a bonus action to command troops to have them like do some suppressive fire or set up obstacles basically just like command people to do things, and you can give them like a small list of stuff they can do that can slow the creature's movement. Maybe you can like throw big ass nets on it to stop it from trying to shake off the party, stuff like that. I think you can have some fun there.
So it's funny you say that, or you bring that up at all, because one of the reasons that I think that fight really sucks in Monster Hunter World, because the Zora Magdaros fight is just not fun. And I think one of the big reasons is something that you don't have to deal with in tabletop, which is the controls. Because part of the reason that fight fucking blows is you have to fight with the controls in Monster Hunter, which are sort of heavy and clunky on purpose to a certain degree, which is fine for most of the game, but really aggravating for that particular fight because you kind of climb Zora Magdaros like a dungeon thing. It's weird and it's just annoying, and also you have to like beat up the dragon and then fly back over to the Dragonator cannon to fire it, which again is alleviated if you're playing tabletop because there's 4 of you probably. So you could do the thing where the paladin and the wizard are on the dragon, and then the fighter is shooting the harpoon guns or whatever. So yeah, I think you could do that fight. Basically, I would just run it like a big siege thing, and it's almost like the monster itself is not the priority so much as treating it like a actual medieval siege is kind of how I would try to think about it. Set up some weapons, set up some defenses, barricades and shit, and then everyone has a certain job, and then or maybe what you could do is you could do the Mass Effect thing, the Mass Effect suicide mission, where it's like everyone gets assigned a job and then you have to do each person's job individually to make sure that we get through each step. So like, the fighter has to ready all the cannons and get all the troops going. Well, that's happening. Fucking harpies are attacking the fighter or some shit. So everyone else has to defend him. The paladin has to jump on the big dragon to like stab it in its back glowy crystal thing that it has for some reason. And while he's trying to do that, the wizard like has to defend him because magical bullshit's assaulting him or whatever. I think that's like the suicide mission of Mass Effect 2 is like everyone has a job they're good at, so like make them have to do the job they're good at. I think that's probably
honestly,
how
I didn't even think about Mass Effect. That's a great idea.
Yeah, right? Because the whole thing with Mass Effect 2 is like, okay, the first part, we need someone who's a good team leader. Okay, I'm going to choose... Spoilers for Mass Effect 2? I'm going to choose Garrus because Garrus used to be a cop and like a squad leader and also used to lead a gang, like anti-gang strike team. So obviously he's good boss man. Lead the team in to get the civilians out of the way that have been captured. And then the next part, it's like, all right, we need a really good hacker. It's like, cool, okay, we're gonna get Legion, who's a robot, who's a super mega geth AI sentient being who can hack really good. What a surprise. And while he's running through the pipes, you actually have to fight. You have to follow him and fight through waves of enemies and open up the doors that barricade his path. So in the D&D example, the wizard's like, okay, I'm gonna imbue every cannon with fire magic, but it's gonna take me a minute to do that. Come with me and defend me or whatever, or like get the monster out of my way so I can imbue the cannon, right? Same idea, all that shit. Or in the like with the example where you have to keep up the biotic barrier in Mass Effect, the wizard's like, all right, I can hold the shield spell around us all, but they're gonna keep slamming it against me and they're gonna try and attack me, so while I keep the shield spell up, you kill them. Also, I have to, the wizard has to make checks to keep their spell going. You're getting into the realm of like, fuck the rules, we're doing some weird shit, but like, whatever. There's absolutely gonna be some, well, that's not how that spell works, and the GM's like, I know, don't worry about it, or whatever,
Honestly, this is like a completely side thing, but I do feel like GMs should be more willing to do weird shit.
You know what's funny you say that, Isaiah? I think most GMs are willing to do that, but games like D&D make you feel like you're not allowed to. There's a, not just D&D, Pathfinder, Shadowrun. Like there's a type of game that just makes you feel like you're not supposed to, or you're not allowed to, or if you try, the game is going to break because the math is so tight and specific and like expects certain things out of action economy and all this other stuff. But I think GMs do want to do this shit a lot of the time. I don't think it's a lack of desire. I think it's a reluctance
you see
around
this
the
lot.
system.
You'll see like a lot of the wacky. The one thing actually on that, most of it is you have to listen to like what the players say. Like a lot of new play. Oh god, I hit my mic. A lot of new players will be the ones coming up with these crazy, wacky like ideas.
Yeah,
and it's all the experienced players who are used to the rules. They've read them now. They've played D&D or whatever game for a while, and they're like, well, actually, you can't do that. Like you'll have there's that fucking XP to level 3 video where the new player's like, can I like cast detect thoughts on the demon and try and read his like who he's attacking or who he's going after? And the DM's like, oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, that's cool. And because of that, I'm gonna give the barbarian advantage because he knows that he was gonna go after the barbarian next. And you shout that out to him, it helps him, and he's like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yep.
It's players gotta be the ones to like, I don't want to say step up, but players are gotta be the one to like put the offer out there. Like, cause a lot of DMs are willing to listen, but like, there's also the double-edged sword of like experienced players who will try to cheese it in some way, in shape or fashion. And it's like, DM, so I have this bag of marbles. Can I like cast transmute on these to turn them into explosive powder, and then can I just shove them up the dinosaur's butt and kill it instantly? It's like, well, no. What the fuck? Even no? What? No.
Yep. Yeah, I think particularly a thing you pointed out there, Matt, is spells, right? Is that I think one of the reasons people are really reluctant around 5e is because spells and what they do is very, very specific by design. Yeah. So it becomes trickier when you're like even what I said, right? I'm like, oh, the wizard holds up the shield spell. The shield spell technically, by the rules, lasts 6 seconds and only defends you, the player. Like, you, the wizard who cast it. But I'm like, oh, have them extend the shield dome out to defend multiple people and hold it for multiple rounds. Technically the book is like, no, you can't.
You can just pull the D&D movie and just be like, can I expend a 3rd level spell slot to like make my shield spell bigger?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Sure.
Right.
It's like,
so it's like, okay, this is a side thing real quick. I really wish there was something in the DMG or something anywhere. And I'll agree with you in this, like to just give me somewhere that tells you, not every, because obviously not every spell can be upcast, but like an article or something to be like, well, if a player wants to upcast a spell that technically doesn't have a higher level version of it, here are some ways that you can think about giving them
a list
more
of
output out of the spell.
A list of upcast modifiers.
Yeah, so like increase the range, increase the damage, increase the targets.
Yep.
Change what action it can be. Like, right, like let's say if you want to like, I know that what is it? I know that spiritual weapon you can upcast, but like in theory, right? Let's say you couldn't, and then you cast it at like 8th level. Well, it's no longer an action. It's a bonus. Sorry, it's no longer a bonus action. It's a full action, but it does double damage or something like that.
That, or maybe you summon more weapons.
Summon more weapons. Yeah, you can get like or get more attacks out of it.
More weapons. Yeah. You just turn into fucking.
I'm gonna cast spiritual weapon, and then on my next, and then I'm gonna action surge so I can cast guardian spiritual guardians.
You're gonna like that. This is what I thought of, Isaiah. You just turn into Gilgamesh from Fate.
Yes. Yes,
or
just
weapons.
Start blasting with the Gate of Babylon. Yes.
Yep. But I think that's why. I think that's because this is the thing. You'll notice GMs are totally fine with the martial player being like, "Can I do this wacky woohoo thing?" And the GM is like, "Yes, martial player. Yes, fighter. You do that wacky woohoo thing," because the fighters are so limited. But when you're dealing with the wizard, you're like, and the wizard says, "Can I cast magic?" That's a bad example. Can I can I cast Detect Thoughts at 9th level to read the mind of the entire crowd? And the GM's like, no, it doesn't do that, because, it doesn't do that. That's not what the spell says, It's like you get into that, and then you have to try and deal with adjudicating a spell with an effect that it doesn't have, which is a lot harder than adjudicating some sort of weird fictional thing that your batshit insane fighter tried to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you would be, if you're dealing with the siege monster thing, you are kind of in that realm, but that's okay. Let it happen. Let it into your heart.
Yeah.
At least a little.
The final example I had under the disable the giant monster section is
so this is
again, the one that I is the fight against Engel in Nier Automata. So the way that I thought about it, right, is the way that you fight Engels in that game. For those of you who don't know, Engels is like a giant robot that's made out of construction equipment. Its arms are like massive industrial diggers and stuff like that. And the way that you fight it is you fight your way up its body by, killing a bunch of ads. And then you have to get to both of its arms to disable, both of its shoulders to disable its arms. And then you go to the head and then you hack it directly. I think with a full party of people, you can do some really interesting stuff where you can, because it's like a machine, you can have players try to alter the machinery, get inside of it, start blasting away at its internals, try to like disable some of its body parts. You could potentially stop it from attacking people. Because the thing is a giant circular like tube, you have players who are scaling the thing, fighting the monster itself. And then you can have the like strike team crew jump in and try to hack it directly. That way you're sort of doing everything at the same time rather than, one after the other.
So that's not where my brain was going. My
brain.
brain.
Real quick, but just go with that saying. Once again, you sort of treat it like a vertical dungeon rather than.
Okay, so that's what I was about to say.
I've seen that before too.
That's what I was about to say. I think the Engel fight you treat like a big dungeon, where you're sort of moving from place to place and sort of hitting either targeted things or trying to do some sort of specific event. And then maybe there's other monsters climbing around, or maybe it's like in the case of Big Robot, maybe it could be as you climb up the Big Robot, it has like automated body defense systems that try to fight back against you. Shit like that. I would treat something like this as a big dungeon. And that's funny. The thing that made me think of this, what I think you want to do is what you do in Final Fantasy XIV, where you're on the platform and you fight the thing and its arms are what you're attacking, right? And then, so as its arms are attacking, you blow up the arms and the monster go, oh, my armies. And then eventually in 14, once you kill it, it falls down and then you walk up the side of it. Now in 14, there's like another part to the dungeon and stuff, but what you could do is you could have your players do something like, all right, stage 1 is destroy this thing's giant buzzsaw arms. Once you destroy the buzzsaw arms, it like freaks out, doesn't know what to do, and like, sits down or falls or something. Players then run up the side of it, and now you're in the next part, and you get inside, and then, inside there's a bunch of like automated repair machines that repair the big robot from the inside that also act as internal defenses, like weird white blood cells, and now the weird white blood cell things are trying to kill you, just like keep moving this weird dungeon scenario. And then maybe at the top you're fighting its fucking face, but its face opens up and like has, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want to fantasy it, its face opens up and attacks you with tentacles or some shit. I don't know.
Each core of that bitch. Just give it a fucking like a spirit laser.
Spirit beam, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's how I would do this thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see that.
Matt in our group just shared a picture of a dungeon that is like a big fallen robot.
That was from
that kind of idea.
This is going to be the example. I was just treat it like every, arms, legs, hip, whatever, chest. Each one is a room of a dungeon. You climb up and then.
But I would say you still want to fight the monster. You still want to fight the dungeon, right? You still want to fight the big monster. So I still think there should be a scenario.
Could be like the brain at top.
The brain
like,
or
that's
some
when,
shit.
Like,
you
fight the.
It's
like
funny.
You're fighting I don't know, a bunch of minions inside here, or other goons, trying to solve some puzzles or two to like shut down the arm or the leg or stop it from moving from the inside.
Honestly, thank God you guys are here because it seems like my brain was stuck in the Mission Impossible do all the objectives at the same time. Because the way that you described it is the way that I would actually end up doing it. Because that is not at all what I was thinking. That's way better than what I had in mind.
Wait,
There's also
what do you mean by?
Oh, sorry.
What do you mean by doing all the objectives at the same time? Like what?
You have like you split the party and have, if you have a party of 6, for example, you have 2 people doing each thing. Party 3, you have 1 person doing each thing.
Yeah,
that's where my brain was at.
Well, I think that works for the Shadow of the Colossus style fight, not bad, or for the Monster Hunter style fight. But I think if you're doing the climb the big robot, I think you want to stage it a little bit.
No, I agree completely. Yeah, but you guys had a way better idea than what I had.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, good work. Shake hands.
Shake hands. Pat on back. Yep.
Good game.
Good game.
Moving on, here's one that Josh will have more to talk about than me because he knows more about this game than I do. But I was thinking about raid mechanics, so that's going to be our second topic: how to bring in raid mechanics into your tabletop RPG of choice. If we're going to stick with D&D because that's the most tactical one that we all play. There are more tactical ones, but it's the one that we all simultaneously play. The first one I was thinking about was positionals. I feel like that's the easiest one to implement with the least amount of headache.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, positionals are things in an MMO that require players to, as you can assume, get into specific positions to actually do damage or to survive certain mechanics in the fight.
Or avoid damage.
Or avoid damage. The simplest one that I can think of that's pretty universal is stacking characters. So in Final Fantasy XIV, you will see a large arrow pointing down with arrows at the cardinal directions, all pointing in. And the whole point is that you and all of the other players are supposed to stack on top of this one point, and when it hits you, it will distribute the damage equally amongst everyone who's there. So you will end up taking far less damage when there is more people there versus not.
One small distinction that's important on that one. The point of a stack up is to stack onto the person who is marked and distribute their damage, because if you don't, they just die instantly.
I thought in the Shinryu fight, there's one where you have to just get to a point on the map.
There are sometimes ones where you have to get onto a specific point, depending, but most of the time, stack ups are on a targeted person. And you're distributing, because what happens is the person is taking an ass load of damage, and then you all stacking distributes the damage evenly amongst you. So in a D&D context, the fighter is getting targeted by the dragon's, breath weapon or whatever. The fighter is going to take 300 damage, but if everyone stacks up, everyone only takes whatever 300 divided by 4 is.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That number.
75. I'm gonna open a calculator.
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're right.
it's 75. Yes.
Nope, I don't
Thank
believe
God
myself.
none of us are math majors.
I don't believe it. I'm checking.
No,
It's 75. It's 75. I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I'm Jimmy Neutron. Brain blast. Anyway.
Yeah. The other interesting mechanic that I was thinking of is, oh God, who is it that you have to fight? Oh Lord.
Describe it.
I'm trying to remember.
Assuming it's a 14 fight.
Yep, it's Ravana. Oh God.
Ravana? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Ravana's DPS check.
The butterflies?
The butterflies, yes. So
butterflies,
there's a boss in 14 called Ravana. He's a big bug man. He's basically just a common rider, really.
He kind of is, yeah. Yes, he is kind of a common rider.
And the way that specific mechanic works is that Ravana will spawn these butterfly-like little clusters. And as they're spawned, you as the players have to destroy them, because if you don't, he will do like a massive raid-wide attack that can that will kill everybody. Yeah. And that way you can have players, and this is kind of similar to what I was pitching before, where you would have to have some players continuously attacking Ravana so that he doesn't kill everyone else. You need like the barbarian to just get his face and to do the thing that barbarians do, and then someone put up the Bionicle with the axe picture. While say like the wizard, pretty much anyone with AoEs. You want like the wizard, the ranger, the monk with flurry blows, not technically an AoE, but can hit multiple things. And then they would take care of the butterflies, because you would know, right? And the GM would have to make this clear to you that whatever this boss is going to do will hit all of you. There is no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, the barbarian will tank it. It's like, no, wizard with less than 50 HP, you will explode. And when I say explode, I mean no saving throw. You die.
Explode.
And they go, oh,
explosion.
No.
My tiny squishy wizard body is in danger. We have to do something, everyone, quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot of really cool stuff. I keep saying and it's pissing me off.
Okay. This is a bit of a tricky one.
The interruptions?
What?
I was gonna say me failing at public speaking.
No, not that. No, what I'm saying is a bit of a tricky one is MMO raid mechanics translating to tabletop. So, because, well, first of all, it's going against the grain of how a tabletop game usually flows, right? Because,
a bit, yeah.
In tabletop, you're generally assuming you're getting sort of auto hit, right? Like AC and saving throws are the dictator of being hit or not. Less so about position. There is a little bit of position stuff. Obviously, there's dragon breath weapon, there's, lightning bolt spell, there's fireball AoEs. There's some of that, but a lot of the game, the game is not 100% about that. Whereas MMO raid bosses, at the end of the day, if you boil them down to their barest minimum, are all about where are you currently standing, right? But that being said, the trickier part, I think, is that part of what makes an MMO raid boss hard is that your brain has to do so many things at once. So you have to make sure, all right, I have to be standing in the correct position. I'm the tank. I'm about to get hit with a tank buster. I need to move away from everyone, and I need to pop my damage mitigation. Okay, damage mitigation has been popped. I need to now start moving to the back of the arena because I know that in the flow of this boss fight, immediately after the tank buster is going to be a big AoE stack up that's going to target the healers, and the healers are currently on the other side of the arena. So I have to now run my ass over to the other side of the arena as soon as the tank buster goes up, right? So a lot of that is your brain is doing so many things at once so quickly, and that's what makes it hard. A tabletop, you don't have to do any of that. You could sit on your phone for 20 minutes with your dick in your hands, and then it could be your turn, and you could take another 20 minutes to decide to do with your turn and eat some Cheetos and bake a pie and fill your car up with gas, and it could still be your turn. So if you're going to do that with tabletop, you have to kind of figure out how to still be somewhat difficult. So you need to force some kind of decision making in order for it to still invoke a feeling of this is tough, right? And this is a challenge. Yeah. Like you still need to because it's turn based, there needs to be some sort of I need to make a choice type thing going on. And I don't know exactly how I'd go about that, but
it's hard. It would definitely be using like obviously legendary monsters with legendary actions, but also using their lair actions, and maybe having more than one lair action go off on a turn. Like you have one go, initiative 20, then initiative 10, and then initiative 5. That way it breaks up, and each one either sets up a big thing like, oh, the boss is going to do the Omega Beam or whatever.
Well, so that
everybody, damage everybody, and it's like on initiative 5. Is when
that's the other
initiative 20 is when these giant red fucking circles appear on the map, and the players are like, okay, we have until initiative count 5 to move the fuck away from those giant red circles, otherwise the boss is going to spew lava at us.
So that's where the other problem comes in. A huge amount of the balancing and design of raid bosses in MMOs is telegraphing. Or if there's no telegraph, it's knowing the pattern of the fight, right? Because usually what they do with harder, so like in 14, you'll have the normal mode raid where all of the AoE attacks are telegraphed.
Yeah.
Then the hard mode, which is called Savage, none of the telegraphs are there. You have to remember what order the abilities are being used in and where the abilities hit on the arena. The problem there is you can't use, so pattern is out the window in tabletop, right? Like you can't use the pattern option really, unless you're gonna say your players are fighting in like a time loop or something, I guess, maybe.
I actually think you can.
Well, but a pattern means you have to lose and fail to learn the pattern if there's no telegraph. Right? Like there's no way, like you have to
okay, I see what you're saying. So I think what I was thinking was I was using sort of pattern and telegraphing interchangeably, although
they are not
I
interchangeable.
think so what you'd want to do for patterns, right, is you'd want to have things that here, I'll use an analogy. There was a boss that I fought years ago in a campaign. Damn it, I keep doing it. Where we were in basically what looks like a massive disco, right? We were in a large, or more correctly, it was the glass panes in Kingdom Hearts, right? Where you had the large picture with the smaller pictures inside of it. I can't remember what that style of art is called. And those things would light up, and when they did, an effect starting from that thing would spread across the stage, but it would not the whole thing. So you sort of had to know after the first few times, and they were like rough, but they weren't killer, right? Like it's like, oh, you're stunned for a turn, your movement is quartered. I don't think that was one, but it was like your movement is halved or something, like difficult terrain. One was, I think one of the meaner ones was you just get like launched in the air and have to make a check to not fall. So it's stuff that will like hinder you in combat, but it won't like immediately kill you, you know? And after the first few times, you start to recognize where you need to be on the map to not get hit by those things while you're fighting the boss, who I believe was airborne. It just sort of forces you to think about things in a specific way, because at some point, you as the wizard are not going to want to get catapulted 30 feet in the air and then take 5d6 falling damage.
So sure, that is a pattern to a specific mechanic, which is fine. But what I was talking about is that the entire boss fight in MMOs goes in a specific order. Like every mechanic is done in the same order every time. That's the thing where I was saying,
yeah. I'm
do
thinking
that.
about what's her name? I have her book as a summoner.
Like
Tsukuyomi, how she has the moon phase, and then that goes into her like random ass attack phase, and then it goes back to the moon phase.
Every boss works like every boss in 14 goes in a set pattern, and then you just have to learn the pattern. Like that's how you win a fight, is by knowing that pattern. But obviously in an MMO, the party wipes, you just reset the fight. In D&D, if the party wipes, that's a very different scenario. So
that's what you mean when you say time loop. Yeah. Oh, well, that could be interesting. That could be really cool.
Sure, if you want to do a time loop, but you're not going to make every boss you have a time loop.
No, but it would be a really cool situation to have, like, you have these ridiculous mechanics, and you know your players are going to fail. Like, you know it. They don't know it.
They're going to fail because they lack information. It's the Dark Souls thing.
Yeah. But when they die and they're like, oh, what do? And then before the session ends, it goes, and then you wake up in the throne room again. And they're like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
Right. So yeah, that's a thing that you could do.
Well, I want to try that.
It's tricky. Like, yeah, you could sort of find a way to make it work, but obviously it's sort of tricky in the base of things. The other thing is the telegraphing situation. So telegraphs are only, the reason they work in an MMO is because you have to use your human reaction time, right? Mm-hmm. I see circle on the ground. I have to move out of circle fast enough. If I do not move out of circle quick enough or notice circle in time, I will be hit. In a turn-based tabletop game, you see the circle on the ground, and then it's your turn, and you just move. There's no time constraint. You don't have to react to anything. The GM just indicates this area is going to be on fire in the next turn, and you go, okay, I just move out of it, and then nothing happens. So you kind of have to make a concession, whether you're okay with that or not. You know, like the fact that if the player just walks 15 feet to the left, they take no damage at all, and they're completely untouched. You know, you have to kind of decide if you want to do it that way, because obviously it's a very different situation. And again, the mental stack, as it is in a turn-based game, is basically nothing, whereas the mental stack of things you need to have on your brain when you're playing an MMO is a lot. Yeah. So part of what makes you fuck up in MMOs is the mental stack, and all the things you need to remember is a lot, so you make mistakes. That's part of what makes the fight hard. That doesn't really apply to a turn-based scenario. So you have to kind of decide. I don't really know what I would do about the like telegraphing the attack situation. I'd have to think about it, you know?
Your best bet, in my opinion, would be to do it before the boss fight even starts. You like if they're talking to fucking Thordak the Cinder King, and every time he gets angry in like his big bad guy speech, like these geysers erupt around him, and then throughout the fight he can get angry, and you can make mention the first time. Only do it the first time that like those geysers are beginning to build with smoke, and then he does it, and then an effect happens. Then the players will put those two and two together, hopefully, and will react
but again, are you willing to let them, like, are you gonna show them the big circle on the ground where the effect is gonna hit, and then let them walk out of it? Right? Because that's how it works in like an MMO. You're standing somewhere, big circle appears underneath you. Oh, I'm about to get hit with something. I walk out of circle, so I take no damage. Are you gonna let? Yeah. Are you gonna do that? You know,
unless the boss has something to like push them back in.
Yeah. So what you could do is have on the map itself. If you want to go this hard, most people will not, and I don't blame you if you don't want to. You could, for example, have two different versions of the same map, and if you're using a VTT like Roll20, you can set them as a table that can change its faces. So you can like have it throughout the fight. You can literally see the area change from like dark, like gray rock to molten red, and that way they can literally see on the map what the area will look like. Obviously, that's only for one mechanic, but
sure. But again, are you gonna let them walk out of the circle and take zero damage?
Yeah,
and not be affected at all. Right.
Yeah,
see, I think that's not necessarily how the game usually works, right? So that's what I mean. Like,
well, it doesn't, but it wants to, because you get stuff like cover, which is technically what that's supposed to cover when it comes to things like AoEs, right? If you're entirely behind a wall, a dragon's fire cannot hurt you.
Sure. Yeah. But when you're talking about ground AoEs, it's kind of like a different, it's not, the problem is that it's not going to be a threat necessarily, or the players aren't going to give a shit. If you just show them the big circle on the ground, this area is going to explode, and then they go, okay, I move. Anyway, like, you know what I mean? If they could just move out of it, it's not going to stress them or feel threatening, because they have all the time in the world to just take their turn and walk 30 feet out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the trick there, right, is you have to sort of play to their risk reward. So you have to make the AoE, if there's only one of them, make that AoE do enough damage to kill anything below a D8 in like 2 shots, right?
I mean, yeah, it has to do a lot of damage.
But no, I mean like straight up half, like 3/4 a wizard's health.
Yeah.
So they can't be like, oh, I have to get out of it.
Yeah, it has to be like 80
if they
damage.
have like, yeah, if they've got like, I don't know, Melf's minute meteors or whatever, like a fireball or something, they go, okay, do I want to stay within range of this AoE? Do I want to eat this to get that damage that might kill? Or do I just say fuck it and run, and that'll be my turn for the round, right? You sort of have to force them to think that way. And they, players might not want to, but that's a bit of a different situation. They could just be like, nope, I'm not doing the mechanics, but they die.
I guess you're gonna die.
If he dies, he dies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, that's what I was saying, where you have to force. There has to be some sort of choice involved for you to do Emma, because you don't have the layer of the mental stack and the human reaction time that is controlling a character in a video game. Because you don't have access to that particular aspect of playing, you have to then make it choice based. It has to be a decision you make on your turn. That's harder, though. It has to be. That's a lot trickier to make like a meaningful choice on a per mechanic basis for a boss fight situation. It's not impossible, but yeah, MMO mechanics I think could be fun, but some of them are just going to be difficult. Some of them I think will work pretty easily. Like I think the stack on the character to spread the damage, I think that one will work pretty easily, because you say, all right, guys, the barbarian's being targeted. The barbarian's going to take 100 damage unless all of you stack on top of them, and then everyone's only going to take 25. And then the wizard goes, guys, I only have 30 health left. Am I joining the stack? Should I get... And then the barbarian says, no, I will tank it. And then you can have that discussion. Something like that I think is good, because there's a choice to be made there. Like, does everyone want to tank that damage, or does just one person want to take the damage, or do two people want to, there's a decision there, which is ironically different for how it works in an MMO, where there's absolutely no decision. Get on the fucking stack marker, you goddamn son of a bitch, or I'm going to break your fucking legs and call your mother and send you to jail. Anyway.
I remember years ago, I watched a video with 17.8.
Yes.
And he basically did like it was like a 5-hour video of combat, and it was basically treated like a World of Warcraft raid.
Yep.
It was like 10 or 12 players fighting one gigantic fucking Jamumbo dragon, fucking Thumberchod. And he had all these, the damage stacking, the red circles on the map. There was one point where the players had to go to these 4 corners of the map where these little volcanoes were, and that's the only way they can damage him, because the dragon was doing some lava magic, some shit. So like doing a raid in D&D or any tabletop, just beware. It's gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you're taking whatever combat you normally have and quadrupling it.
Yeah.
Like the time frame. Which might be cool for like the big bad evil, or like, I don't know, a personal backstory side quest thing. Like you're like, you're fighting Astarians, like, Vampire X, without spoiling it.
Without spoiling it, I'm going to lightly spoil it.
I mean, no, because I kind of butchered it, but like...
You could have... Never mind. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. I'm not going to... Yeah.
Like, and you make him like a raid boss, like fucking, werewolf guy, and you're like, oh shit.
Did you say werewolf guy on purpose there, Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This man, I can't. I was waiting for it.
Side note, Isaiah, I just had the funny idea of putting a magnets mechanic in your tabletop.
Do it just to spite
the
Sam.
magnet. Yeah. Just to, throw in some magnets.
That's that's going to be the next time. I was going to say, the next time I have Sam as a player, I'm going to do magnets. Players are going to have to stay within a certain distance from each other at all times. And then one person's going to not know how magnets work.
Well, you have to do the polarity thing. That's the trick to it.
Yeah.
You should also look up a bunch of the gravity spells from Wildmount.
No.
A lot of like gravity, like movement placing.
Nah. It's got to be fresh off the dome magnet mechanics from 14, Matt. It's got to really be pure trollage.
I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so there's a mechanic that they use.
We'll explain.
Yeah, I'm gonna explain. There's a mechanic they use a lot in 14 where characters will get linked between each other, and they will have polarities of a magnet, which is to say positive or negative, over their heads. So sometimes, there's a bunch of boss fights that use this for different things. So for example, all of the players are pushed into a small area, and you need to move yourself out of the area, and the magnets are going to pulse. So you have a plus sign over your head. The person you're tethered to has a plus sign over your head. What should you do? Matt?
Go over to them?
Go towards each other, yes, because when the magnet goes off, the plus and plus rejects, right? The opposites, or what the fuck? I can't even talk now.
Yeah,
the two positive sides push each other away from each other. So you come towards the middle. So usually what they'll do is, like, for example, maybe there'll be a stack up mechanic and then a magnet mechanic. So everyone stacks in the middle to help the tank from not dying from the attack. And then the magnet pulses go off and pushes you out.
Okay.
So you have to move towards your buddy. And then if there's a plus and a minus sign, you have to move away from each other so you don't get pulled too close. People have a really hard time with this in 14 for some reason and constantly fuck this up.
Much to Sam's chagrin.
Much to Sam's chagrin, and mine, and many others. So yeah, the joke is nobody knows how magnets work.
Yes.
Anyway, point being, yeah, if you're looking at raid mechanics, I do think some of them will work better than others. There's some ideas you could potentially steal from there, but you really have to take into consideration that one of the main things that makes raid mechanics hard is the fact of I have a bunch of things that I have to remember at the same time, and I have to physically have my human reaction time with my controller. Those two things, not a part of tabletop, so you have to figure out a different way to sort of account for the lack of that stress.
Yes.
But it's not outside the realm of possibility.
I have... No, it's not at all. I have the ABCs of Cerberus here, but that's just for treading old ground from the disabled giant monster, and we've already talked about the, like, Mission Impossible strike team do different things at different points, so we're going to skip over that one.
I mean, to describe it really quick, just in case someone's listening and like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's a fight in Final Fantasy 14 boss, where you have an A team, a B team, and a C team, and you have to do A is ads, B is boss, C is chains. Yeah. So you have to do a bunch of ads spawn. So A team is supposed to kill the ads. B team it's not boss, it's belly. Because B team has to get shrunk down to tiny size, so Cerberus will eat them and then attack the boss from the inside to do a shitload of damage. And then C team has to get chains because it's Cerberus. He's chained up to these two pillars. C team needs to go and break the chains so he can then eat the B team, so that B team can do all the damage. And then A team has to keep the ads away from B team because while B team are tiny, they take more damage. So that's what Isaiah means about splitting up the jobs and having the big strike team do their different parts of their jobs.
Yeah.
Just to give the context there, because ABCs of Cerberus sounds like an insane statement with no context.
Yes, it does. It does. On to the third and final section, methinks. The one that I think you would like the most, Josh, would be how to do something along the lines of the infinite devil trigger health drain section in DMC3, the gauntlet that you have to fight.
Oh God,
I think that'd be cool.
That's not the boss gauntlet. It's right before it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a different kind of gauntlet. It marks the like. No, it's before that. It's before you get devil trigger technically. Because I think it's a devil trigger, and Dante's like, what? No, because it's when you get the key to the gate.
Isn't it right after you get the devil trigger? It doesn't matter.
No, it's right before. It's right before you get to the top floor of the Devil's Tower. Because you fight Jester, and then you have to get through the massive double doors, and it's the glowing pink like gem thing that Dante picks up.
You definitely have devil trigger at that point. Never mind. Doesn't matter.
Regardless, so the point
describe the mechanic.
Yes, the mechanic is in Devil May Cry 3, Dante has a sicko mode, as we're going to lovingly call it, where he can enter his devil trigger. When Dante is in devil trigger, his movement increases, he does more damage, he has a health regen, all his stuff is basically buffed, right? The section in question gives you that devil trigger, which is typically timed. I think at its highest, it gives you 90 seconds to be a badass. But in this situation is infinite, but your health is consistently draining. And you have to make your way through the level faster, stronger, and all this other cool stuff, but you are going to die if you don't do anything. And the only way to stop yourself from dying is to get health pickups through killing enemies. And I think you could do this really well in D&D. I think you might not be able to do the traversal level stuff. You could, but it'd be a little weird. It'd be a lot of minions with some harder enemies.
Well, if you wanted to do the traversal part of running around the level, what you do is like map out a dungeon of some nature and move through the dungeon. Basically, you're just permanently on turn-based mode. You're permanently in initiative, and every, you move your movement every round, and every round you take, however much damage. So you could.
With the caveat being, you could. I think the thing that would be cool. And players would love this. I know they would. I would love this.
I think this would be more fun to do in a fight than the traversing part.
Yeah. No, I agree. It would be more fun to do in a fight. You would just give the players basically either you would give them stuff that they get at higher level that they wouldn't get yet. So if you're a fighter, give them 4 attacks. Just give them infinite haste. Double their movement, give them an extra attack. Wizards, let them cast at a higher spell slot, or give them more spell slots, or let's just say spell slot levels 1 to 3 you have infinite of. You're just juiced at all times, and give them more monsters, just more give them more spell and more monsters. Give them a bunch of minions, stuff that they can kill easily, and every time they kill it, just give them like whatever their hit die is, right? Because not only are they going to be taking damage from just passives, they're going to be taking damage from the enemies they're fighting and potentially the boss at the end of that section. And that would be cool as an aside, because if they are healing and they have more resources than they would otherwise, they can feel like they've accomplished something by fighting the gauntlet to get through the boss, then getting to the boss and being like, oh, let's go. They're just ready to throw down because they haven't lost all that much, even though it feels like they've been through a lot. And you can make the boss way harder because they're basically at full stats. Whereas in a typical dungeon, you either want to lighten up a little bit on the boss, or you want to give them maybe not as much as they otherwise would, and give them the like reduced threat dragon stuff that they have. Or don't. You just say fuck it and let them suffer. But typically, you wouldn't throw the Tarrasque or a Great Worm at the end of a dungeon, right? The Great Worm is like a we do by itself kind of boss. Again, or you just say fuck it, we ball. Which if you're that dungeon master, you are a cut above. Let me tell you.
I mean, I have no notes on that one. Like, there's a bazillion ways you could do it. You could make it so that every time they kill a monster, they suck its fucking life force and regain some health. You could make it that they have to run around the dungeon in initiative order and pick up little health glowy orbies to keep themselves topped up. You could do like, every time they attack something, they lose health, but they can still use like healing spells or whatever, and they have extra, and like every healing spell maxes. There's a bazillion ways you can do it. Basically, it's just like put continuous stressful timery thing, and then make them have to bounce it up and down and up and down and up and down. There's lots of ways you could go about that. So yeah.
I like it. You had something to say, Matt?
No, I was just agreeing.
Damn it, Matt, we need your input.
I got nothing.
He doesn't even give me input on my input. You bastard.
I don't even have anything to add, really.
You fuck. All right.
All right.
Damn it, Matt, we still have 30 minutes. What are you doing?
It's that don't be how it do, but that how it do.
Yeah.
It don't be how it is, but it do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
The last one I had, because I had 6 of them total. I
6 of these nuts. Ho!
This one. The last one I had, which is admittedly, maybe not less enjoyable. I think it could be fun, but maybe it's not the one I should have ended with, is I think you could have some fun doing the Dark Souls 3 Deacons of the Deep boss fight as like just not even really a boss fight, but like a combat encounter. For those of you who don't know, the way that you fight the Deacons of the Deep. Yes. In Dark Souls 3, Matt, that game that you refused to play.
Yeah.
Explain to me in Elden Ring lore.
No.
It's not. What? It's this. The same style of
superior Dark Souls.
It's the same style of game. What does that even mean?
Matt, this is why no one loves you.
What do you mean explain it in Elden Ring? What does that mean?
He said Elden Ring lore.
Explain. Yes.
You fight a bunch of popes. What does it matter? I say a bunch of popes. You fight a bunch of priests.
Listen,
you kill the Vatican. You kill the entire Vatican.
Saying, even though you guys are the Dark Souls fan, I'm the bigger Dark Souls fan now because I beat Elden Ring and you guys didn't. So therefore,
there's no logic in that statement in any way.
That was just the most brain dead statement I've ever heard Matt say. That is crazy.
That didn't. There was no.
That is like a full tinfoil hat. I played the newest game, so I'm a bigger fan.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
I play the newest fucking game.
Yeah, like
No, I beat the newest game. You guys.
Okay.
My PlayStation shit the bed, Matt. What do you want from me?
Okay.
You know what, Matt? How about this? How about this, Matt? How about this? Yeah, you buy me a PS4. Buy me a whole PS4. Shit, buy me a PS5. How about that? And then I will beat Elden Ring.
Sir, I'll just get you Elden Ring on PC.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
I'm not playing that game from the start to the bottom with the way I play those games.
You're gonna have to play it from the No, Isaiah, you're gonna have to play it from the start no matter what. The save data's lost. The hard drive died.
It might be on the cloud. You don't know.
If you didn't if you didn't back it up to the cloud, it's not on the cloud.
PS4 saves to the cloud on standard.
No, it doesn't.
Not for all.
Not for everything. What was your original point before I just blurted out that nonsense?
Anyway, fucker. The Deacons of the Big Deep boss fight is not really a boss fight in the conventional sense. It is a boss fight insofar as there is a boss health bar in an enclosed arena style fight. But you're basically just fighting
health bar, quote unquote.
Yeah. You're basically just fighting slightly weaker typical ads that you've been fighting throughout the entire map. The big difference,
slightly stronger typical.
The big difference there is that you don't do damage to them. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
I said, don't you mean slightly stronger than typical ads?
No, the Deacons are actually very weak. They don't do a whole lot of damage. They don't even really pose much of a threat, in all honesty.
Okay.
It's just that there's an ass load of them. And typically, when you kill just a standard Deacon, up into a point, it does a slight drain to the overall health bar of the boss, which sort of rewards you for having big AoE style attacks, great swords, spells, what have you. But once you get down to halfway, the Archdeacon itself shows up. And if you kill that, that's the only way to do damage from the boss from there on in. The thing is that when you kill the Archdeacon, another priest is chosen to be the Archdeacon. So you can only damage them if you fight the Archdeacon. And I think you could have some fun with players where they are constantly making either investigation or perception checks, once they get to the halfway point, of course, to find the Archdeacon and then fight their way to him to hit him. And I would say you'd only want to do this. Yeah.
To rephrase this slightly, you brutally murder the entire Vatican until the Pope shows up, at which point you kill the Pope, and then the Pope possesses a new member of the Vatican, and you continue to slaughter the Vatican until you kill the Pope like 800 more times.
Okay.
Yes. What I was going to say is, obviously, that's less tedious in a action RPG where you can, attack basically as fast as you can pull the bumper or trigger, your choice. In a TTRPG, you'd have to cut this down to a hard limit. Let's say you kill 25 standard Deacons, and then the Archdeacon shows up. And then you have to take your turn or take your time to find the Archdeacon, fight your way to him, and then hit him once. And you can basically treat the Archdeacon like 4 separate special minions. They only have 1 hit point, which means the boss overall only has 4 hit points past phase 2, but you have to attack those. I keep dropping my nippers. I have to stop doing that. And that sort of gives you a unique sort of boss fight in of itself, where it's not just one thing that you're whacking all over the place. It sort of treats it as a thing that your players can do collaboratively. My mouth is moving faster than my brain, or vice versa. I'm not sure. Regardless.
Okay. No, you were right. Mouth faster than brain.
Yeah. That's a situation where if players want, they can do what I had my players do in the giant bat fight, where you have one player use their action to assist the party either through buffs or just trying to find the damn thing, which will allow other players to either attack it or fight their way over to it. Hell, you can have a whole situation where, let's say, the barbarian is taking care of the ads, right? He's the guy that's actually fighting his way through it because he has more attacks. And let's say he's using the new cleave weapon mastery thing that lets you attack more than one enemy. By cutting swaths through them, he might not have enough actions to actually attack the deacon, where an archer or the rogue can run in, stab, and then run away. While your wizard casually commits war crimes with fireball.
Only casual war.
Only casual.
I mean...
It ain't a war crime if it's the first time.
Right, of course. It ain't a war crime if it's not wartime.
True.
I mean, yeah, you could do it. I don't know. That one sounds sort of less exciting to me, if I'm going to be entirely honest.
Literally what I said. Yeah, I was like, it probably shouldn't have been the last one we used, but, it is a new way of thinking about a fight like that.
Yeah. The idea, I think really the thing that's more important, rather than looking at exactly how the Deacons of the Deep fight executes on it, I think the important takeaway you could do with that one is the idea of spreading the boss's health out to, other stuff. Yeah, the idea of giving the boss Horcruxes, that's probably the most interesting takeaway. And it doesn't even necessarily it could be the one minion has some of the boss's health, and then the trap thingy has some of the boss's health, and then there's a crystal in the room you have to break, and that hurts the boss. You could kind of split it up in a lot of ways, because really the thing that makes the Deacon of the Deep fight is kind of fun, not because it's hard or a challenge or it's like your brain, wriggles really hard when you do it, but because when you're playing Dark Souls, you're going through the whole time, you're like struggling and it's taking forever to kill things, and bosses keep beating your ass and bending you over the fucking countertop and all this shit. And then you get to the Deacon of the Deep fight and you just get to be a mass slaughtering sociopath as you just kill the entire Vatican. And it's kind of fun to just dunk on these nerds who literally do almost nothing in return to you. So that's kind of the idea you should take. The two takeaways should be spreading the boss's health out and punching a bunch of nerds in the face to make your players feel cool and strong.
Yeah.
That's the most important most important touchstones for that fight, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and you can also just treat it like waves too. Wave 1, big mob.
It is kind of a wavy thing too, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Wave 2 is
just sort
boss with mob. Wave 3 is boss with mob, but like Horcrux crystals. You have to destroy the crystals in order to hurt the boss.
My brain just auto corrects to the one Space Marine killing the Tyranids to "I'm Still Standing" by
Yes. Yeah. That energy. Exact same energy.
by John Lennon. There we go.
Yeah. That's based. Yeah. Invoke that for your players and they'll be happy. I mean, obviously you can't do it all the time, but every once in a while to let your players just dick on a bunch of nerds is, it's a good time. It might not be, I'll be honest, it might not be very fun for you as the GM to let your players dick on a bunch of nerds, but sometimes you just gotta take that L.
I honestly laugh when players style on minions. I think it's really funny just to watch them go ape shit.
I mean, that's the point. They're minions. They're not supposed to they're supposed to eat up either player stuff like spells or abilities, or they're just supposed to kind of put a little roadblock in between them and whatever their actual goal is, fighting the boss on the Horcrux.
That's all well and good, but running them is often boring because they're just guys who hit and stand in the way usually. That's why that's what I mean.
I recently used the mob rules from the Dungeon Master's Guide, and that it's quick and easy. You have to do a little bit of math, but it's not that hard.
I refuse to use those mob rules. I fucking hate. That's neither here nor there right now. But let it be known, I hate those rules.
They're not bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's probably one that's more fun, but it's easy.
Yeah. But anyway, it's fine. It kind of annoys me because D&D already had a great mechanic that they could have used for mobs, which is swarms, and they just didn't.
Yeah, the swarms are... I like them.
Well, as they are right now, not that interesting, but you could very easily expand the swarms into a proper mob-style mechanic. No problem.
The thing
it's
that
what Star Wars did. Star Wars did
yeah.
exactly that.
The thing I want from... that you can't really do with swarms is I kind of want positional control of them. If there was a way, and you can't really do this in a VTT, fair enough, but if there was a way that the swarms could take shapes to like box players in or divide them, sort of divide and conquer.
Why couldn't you do that in a VTT? Just describe it fictionally, draw on the map, use multiple.
You can set them to like
it's all
be
fictional.
underneath.
There's not like...
Yeah, it's fictional, but you can still. It's gonna be fictional in real life too. Like you can't stretch out your mini in real life either.
I forgot what they just made a new swarm. I think it was probably in Van Rich's guide. Where it was like swarm of zombies or some shit.
Yeah, probably.
And they literally the whole thing is they're allowed to move into other players and other creature spaces.
Yeah, because they swarm around.
And then once you do, the player is basically stuck there and has to like Jon Snow fighting his way out of the army pile of man, like fucking break out of it, or he's just gonna get slapped at lunch.
I think the thing that was particularly cool about how minions were done in Star Wars is that a cluster of minions was actively better and then got worse as you took them out. So, for example, a stormtrooper would only have 1 or 2 wounds, and then a cluster of stormtroopers, if there was 4 stormtroopers, they would have 8 health or whatever it was. And every time you docked down 2 points of health, fictionally you killed 1 stormtrooper, and they actively got worse at shooting and using all their skills because there is less stormtroopers. So their skills actually get worse. And when there's more of them, their skills got better. So that was the thing that I liked a lot that D&D doesn't do. They do the damage, like a swarm of whatever, does less damage once you get it to half health, but that's literally it. Like you could have done so much more with that. You could have said like, oh, when the swarm gets below half health, dock all of their skill bonuses. And then when they get below a quarter, dock their damage, their skill bonuses, and their to hit bonus. There's so many ways you could have done it. Obviously, you could just do it yourself, but you know what I mean? It should. I think that would be a totally easy way to go that the game just didn't, unfortunately. C'est la vie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C'est la D&D. La vie.
Like D&D's not...
Oh, fucking got him. We should close out on that.
I hate myself.
That's it. That's the closing notes.
Matt, you've been pretty quiet most of this. Do you have any examples of some interesting video game fight mechanics that you can bring in?
Isaiah.
I know you said you have some for Baldur's Gate, but like you were trying to avoid tabletop-like. Do you have anything maybe off the dome?
So originally, I misinterpreted the topic. So all the things I had from Baldur's Gate were everything except for like 1 or 2 things from combat.
How does this keep happening? How does this always happen where me and Isaiah have an idea and then me and Isaiah are like, yeah, makes sense. And Matt misunderstands us every time.
Because I read the original thing was like video game scenarios and making them fit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have all these things from Baldur's Gate I can use. And then it went on to, no, actually specifically combat. And I'm like, well, oops.
Well, I mean, if you have some non-combat ones from Baldur's Gate, I think that works as long as they're not too. No. Like, give it. Let's see it because I have.
Well, I was gonna say I just for just real quick because again, Baldur's Gate. It's not really. Spoilery.
We're not giving you a choice, Matt. Explain your examples now.
No.
Now.
Like one thing you could add to your game, the minor damage roll, like the piercing strike, cleave, all that shit.
What?
Which again, D&D they're going to be doing, and 1D&D's nuts.
Oh, you just mean the weapon bonus actions?
Yeah, the weapon bonus stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's about to be in the game, but yeah,
it's about to be in the game.
To explain, Isaiah, every weapon type had unique bonus action, or every weapon had unique bonus actions that it could execute on. That you could
specific
do
actions
that you could only do once per short rest usually. So like great axes had cleave, long swords had like a pommel strike. Daggers had like a wounding. What do they call it? Slashing flourish or something like that, where you would
Flourish, I think.
where you would wound somebody and they take like bleeding damage.
Bows and arrows had like piercing strike,
and hamstring strike.
Bleed. Yeah,
which would
you unfortunately lost me at the once per short rest. That kind of bums me out.
Well, that's a very different in Baldur's Gate. That's way less of a restriction than it sounds.
Yeah,
because short rests are you get 2 short rests per day, so there's that. So you get 3 of them in a day, and you're basically supposed to long rest a lot in that game. So you have them pretty regularly.
I see.
They're also pretty strong, so them being at least semi-limited is not that unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like one of them, I think, can stun an opponent, if I remember correctly. A dazing strike or something. Oh no, or does it give you no? There's a hammer. One of them, a couple of them are like, damn, that's actually pretty wild.
Yeah.
I see.
Anyway,
Matt, do you have any non-combat ones? Because now I'm actually quite interested in those.
Well, I kind of actually now I'm looking at. I do have a couple of combat ones I do want to mention. Just throw them out there.
No,
but you do have some non-combat ones.
No, you're not allowed to hear the non-combat ones. Matt says no.
The terrain environment stuff, like Baldur's Gate 3 has a lot of again, they play with the environment a lot. That's both can be a boon and a bane for players. Like you can push a goblin off a mountain, but then again, I've had instances where the goblins would be like, "Oh, a mountain," and just fucking yeeted me off, and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
shame."
Yep.
Or pools of lava in certain areas. I don't know why I'm really stuck up fixated on the lava bit today. But you're fighting next to a pool of lava, and the fucking enemy wizard's just like, it'd be a shame if I used what's it called, thunderclap or whatever.
Yeah, thunderclap, the one that blasts.
Yeah, thunderclap right now and blasted everybody into lava.
Thunderwave.
Thank you. Thunderwave or some shit, and you're just like, well, that's unfortunate. Which, as a DM, again, that's one of my biggest issues that I'm trying to fix is adding more interesting environment and terrain shit for both my players to use.
I mean, that's something that's technically already in the game.
Yeah.
Technically,
it's in the game, but it's always something to think about because it's always I don't know. As a DM, I struggle with it.
It's funny.
They kind of made me go, oh, yeah, Baldur's Gate does it this way. Oh,
it's funny you say that because Divinity actually had way more of that.
Yeah,
so
I remember
much,
with the acid stuff.
So you could electrify water, you could freeze water.
Oh my God, don't remind me.
You could melt the ice, you could use the acid gas, which would then explode with the fire. There was a lot of that shit. So much so that they specifically avoided putting as much of it in Baldur's Gate because people actually got annoyed with how much there is in Divinity.
I got stun locked in a combat time, and I just uninstalled the game immediately afterwards. It was I got ambushed, I killed one guy. He literally kept lightning striking the water puddle I was standing on.
Yep.
I was stunned.
Yep.
He would do nothing on his turn. Yep. Then I would end my stun, and then on his next turn, he'd shoot the fucking water puddle again with a lightning bolt. And I'm like, you fucker, just shoot, just kill me. Just kill me.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I hope that doesn't get added to Baldur's Gate 3, or I will be very miffed.
I don't know if you can electrify water.
I don't know. I know you can they have the freezing. You freeze water.
You can freeze the ground. I don't know if I came across a scenario where I froze any water.
No,
I don't remember though.
I'm gonna mix some stuff up.
I know you could freeze the ground Ice Arrow or Ice Knife puts an ice area on the floor.
Maybe that's what I'm mixing up with that. What else I got? Bonus action potions and elixirs? Question mark. I'm still.
Oh my God! That's
a whole giant topic. So but
it's fine. You can do it if you want to do it. Just be aware that you're giving your players actively more healing in a game where players already are.
Well, it's not even
strong.
just bonus healing potions. Just potions in general.
Yeah. You're giving your players a direct buff in a game where they are already quite strong, so just take that into account.
Yeah. And then the golem fight, which I don't want to get into because spoilers.
Fuck that fight. I hate it. I hate the Grimforge fight so much.
Oh, and then also just add like we talked about minions and mobs and shit, so which I noticed a lot of the Baldur's Gate fights, there's a lot of bad guys. You're fighting a lot of them like in groups and shit constantly. And it's like, oh, in D&D it's like they want you to like, no, it's like, oh, the player should be fighting one big ogre, and it's like, no, action economy exists for a fucking reason. That ogre is gonna die before it gets its turn. You know what you do? Add an ogre and like 5 gobos, and there you go.
The problem is that in a game like Baldur's Gate, you can have a fight where, because there are some fights in Baldur's Gate where there's so many enemies, the initiative counter just goes off the screen at the top. Like it just disappears into the abyss because it's such a long, there's so many people taking so many turns, particularly towards the end of the game, the final fight. There's so many things. It's insane. But, the thing that works there, you're not going to do that in a tabletop context because, the enemies are controlled by the computer and it can just make all of the decisions for them really, really quickly. And then they just do everything. And also, if the enemies are next to each other in initiative, they can take simultaneous turns. In real tabletop, you got to do all that shit your damn self, and it takes forever. And no, not happening. And you have to track everyone's health and all this other crap. It is a little alleviated if you use minions because they just have 1 HP. Yeah. But I think it's even further alleviated if there was some good swarm rules. Then we could, do something with that. But yeah, yes, action economy is the way it is. No, the game is not designed for you to fight big singular monsters most of the time, although I think they're maybe shifting away from that a little bit. I think that mythic monsters are intended to basically be fought alone, which is good. I think something that would help is if they specifically made monsters that were designated as, these are the ones that you could do where they fight by themselves, and they have a little tag, and that tag says boss. But it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
I
know the MCDM book, they have that where they're like solo.
Yeah.
It's like this monster meant to fight by itself.
It's almost like D&D had that and then stopped having that for some fucking reason. Bring that back, wizards. It was a good idea. Stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway.
What if they just looked at you and went, no.
That's basically what they did, so yeah.
And I guess to end on one non-combat one, magic items that are spell items that just have one spell in it. Just for players. How many times have you ran into jump? Like, but like, how many times have you found like, not even a wand of fireball, but like, a staff that gives me the shield spell for free, or like a headband that gives me detect thoughts or comprehend languages for free. Like, do it. It's fun. Like little like one. Yeah.
Are you saying a item that has a one use consumable, like spell, like you use it once and that's it, or just has a spell in it? Because in Baldur's Gate, a lot of the time, I think it's either it allows you to cast the spell once for free or just indefinitely. Yeah, the indefinitely. I'm trying to remember, but like, if you would convert that to D&D, you'd probably want to switch it to like a certain amount of times a day. Well, items with spells that you can keep using somewhat indefinitely already exists. But the idea, like a bead of or a necklace of fireballs, for example, right? Like that's but like is. More of those, like more examples of those in the actual game, because otherwise it's most like, like Critical Role, like you found a scimitar. All right, cool. What does it do? I don't know. You can cast Misty Step with the scimitar. Oh shit, this scimitar is way better than I originally thought. See, I'm not against the idea, but I do think you got to be a little bit hesitant because spells are, in a lot of ways, the thing that breaks the game more than anything else. So handing spells out on magical items, you just got to be a little careful. But if it's a one-time, one-pump chump spell, like you get a necklace of fireballs that only has one charge and then it's done, those you could be a little more hand out like candy if you want, because it's gone once they use it. Or there was a cloak for Gale where it's like this cloak gives you cold resistance and allows you to cast Armor of Agathis once a day for free. Yeah. So it'd be literally be like, yes, my morning ritual casts Mage Armor, then Armor of Agathis, and then all my other spells. I mean,
Yeah, I guess that would be it for me.
That's the only non-combat one you had?
I had a couple more, but it's already getting pretty late.
Matt? No.
It's fine, man.
Sorry.
Matt just lets me down.
Isaiah?
Just lets me down.
Isaiah?
Matt doesn't love me. It's okay.
Bless
Yeah.
cock off.
Got it.
Isaiah specifically requested Matt, and you just said no.
I gave him one.
He wanted more.
All right.
It's fine. It's fine. Fuck it.
The inspiration system, I mentioned that a couple times already, though.
You have to be a little more specific, bud.
So basically, how it works is each character, depending on their backstory or their background that they pick, have a specific trigger that kind of like will allow you to earn inspiration through other like player characters or NPCs. So like one of them, I forgot, it was Karlak, because she's an Outlander. If you cast a spell that grants her the flight ability, then you'll get an inspiration point.
Does it only work once?
Shadowheart, if you discover some sort of, because of her, what do you call it? Alkalite background, if you find or show her any like religious text
some
or pass
religious shit,
yeah, or like pass a religion check in front of her, then you'll earn inspiration or Gale magic shit, you know.
They all proc once. Honestly, the way Baldur's Gate does it is not that different from how actual 5e basically handles inspiration, which is to say, oh, you did a cool thing, here's inspiration. That's basically all Baldur's Gate is doing. The only difference is that Baldur's Gate is trying to tie it to something a little more
tangible, and that's
a little
what
more
I
tangible.
want.
Yeah. So Baldur's
that's
Gate,
what I'm saying. That's why I want more.
Yeah. The difference is that, you know, it'll be like, all right, Lae'zel is a soldier. So if you defeat, you know, or it's like,
you kill a mind flayer in front of her.
You kill a mind flayer in front of her because she fucking hates him and she's a Githyanki soldier. You get inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a very similar idea, but yeah, it's linked to a more tangible thing, so it feels a little more, it feels a little bit more actionable, I guess, would be the idea. Like and it also feels more relevant to the characters as opposed to just being like the GM being like, oh, player, you did me a funny, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, yes, I like that. That's good. It is very good. I'm not sure how I feel about it only being a one proc thing, although I guess if it's your background stuff, you have multiple background things.
There is
you can proc
so many of them in the game, it doesn't matter that it's a one proc.
Yeah, that's what
there is so fucking many of them. And you got to keep in mind, too, the other thing with the game is inspiration is a pool, right? It's one character because you're playing by yourself. Inspiration is not per character. It's an inspiration point for the party. And you can have 4 of them. So that's another reason. So procking it on Shadowheart, procking Shadowheart's inspiration gives you, the main character, the ability to use that inspiration. So that's another reason that they're only one-time procs.
Gotcha. Nice. I mean, yeah, we made it 2 hours. Fuck yeah, guys. We did it.
We had to yank Matt's teeth on that one, apparently.
We did. But we made it. That's what matters.
Even though he said he still has more.
Yes. It's fine. He just wants to hurt me.
I'll save him for next time.
No, you won't. There's a bold face.
Well, not with that attitude.
It's a bold face lie.
It's fine. Matt's just hurting me on a personal level because he doesn't like me. It's okay. I understand. It's fine. That being said, before we bring it all to an end, Josh, do you want to do the thing? Want to tell him the thing?
I don't want to, but I'm morally obligated. And by morally obligated, I mean socially obligated. And by socially obligated, I mean this is the thing that you have to do if you want to sell your soul to the influencer devils, which is the algorithm. Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
But Josh, don't you mean follow us on X?
No, we're not on a porn site.
I'm gonna stab you.
Why would you say to follow us on a porn site? That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna be streaming on Chatterbait, soon. Follow
That's
us.
a very different kind of stream. I will be on there, but this will not be the type of topics. Nice.
What I will say is, if you have any ideas of video game based things that you can bring into your TTRPG, let us know in the comments, because just based on what we talked about today, I got some ideas, and I'm very excited.
Why'd you say?
So I want to see what you got.
Why'd you say?
In
that
case
so
your ideas
creepy?
suck, in which case,
Why'd you say that so creepy?
don't worry
What?
about it.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. All right, we'll see y'all later.
Oh, later.